Okay, we're at 11:30. And so with that, I'd like to convene the work session of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners on January 12th, 2022. Again, Commissioner Jones and I are both present, and I'd like to start with Lisa Ridge. Discussion of regarding an agreement with NDOT for the railroad safety improvements with Karst Farm Trail or Karst Trail at Lowe's Road. Ms. Ridge, please.
So we've been waiting on this contract, actually. This is to cover some railroad safety improvements for the Karst Trail. NDOT awarded Monroe County, programmed to Monroe County, the $445,000, $880.70. That is to cover 90% of the cost of this railroad improvement. Approximately $49,000 will be paid out of, I believe it's the DNR Next Level Trail Fund. Kelly, I think, is going to get on here. If that's not correct, she can correct that. We're kind of on a time-sensitive deadline here with the DNR grant. I think even if this, since it's, anyway, so I put it onto the work session, and hopefully we could ratify it next week, but get signatures through DocuSign and keep it moving. We've been waiting for this contract for a little bit, and so yeah. And if Kelly wants to talk more about the funding.
What I want to do is that I need to talk to the auditor's office. It'll either come out of the Next Level Trails grant fund line or a bond that we've been keeping some money set aside for this project. So I'm not sure how they want to do it yet.
But again, the county's cost is just going to be approximately $49,000 for this railroad improvement. So.
Because the trail crosses a railroad track, is that correct?
Yes, so they're going to do the safety improvements. They have a funding that they call the 130 funding throughout the state that works specifically with railroads and NDOT on LPA projects. So we, Monroe County, reached out to NDOT in 2021 to ask if there was any funding available to help with this Karst Trail project, and they gave this award to Monroe County for it. So we were thrilled. It's not a small amount, so yeah, it's another great project with NDOT, actually.
And I know that people have been working on this particular little piece for over a year. The
trail committee has spent a lot of time on trying to get funding and everything, and it's great. I mean, I've watched, Kelly do her contracts and everything for paving and everything. And I remember, Karst Trail Phase 1 being done back in probably 2015, I want to say 2014. So it's great to see that this should be the final piece of bringing it all together. So.
And I did want to comment that we are very thankful for Lisa's work on this, because if not, the trail would not be connected without this little piece, as we keep saying, but it's a very expensive little piece. I've been working with DNR, and I can't assure you at this moment, but they may be paying for, give or take, around 70% of the $49,000. We're working on it.
Awesome.
So it all gets better and better every day.
Now we just got to beat that timeline.
Yes, we got to keep moving.
Yeah. Mr. Cockrell, can we do this kind of a motion without knowing exactly what fund it'll come out of, the money will come out of?
I can give you a choice of two.
I think as long as you know that there are options and that you're committed to using one of them. So i.e., we're going to use one of these two funds, so we're going to make sure we're not overspending either fund. That's really the requirement, right? Is that when you approve a contract, you have an appropriation in place to pay for it. So I think you're fine moving forward with it. I think Kelly and Lisa, the quicker we can designate and answer that question, the better. So much more on a internal control end, and that we don't want to essentially tie up two funds where we're only going to use one and not spend money out of it. But I think that's kind of an internal thing that we can work through.
And Kelly, would you tell me what those two options were again for the funding? There was a
Yes,
bond.
I have the bond number 4810-47151. And the other one is NLT grant 9107-30006.
Okay, so I move that we approve the agreement between NDOT and Monroe County Board of Commissioners for the railroad safety improvements for the Karst Trail at Loesch Road, with the fund to be either the NLT grant 9107-30006 or bond 4810-47151 in an amount of $49,000.
Well, I would put 50 or 50,000 to round.
In an amount not to exceed $50,000.
Second.
Is there any other discussion on this item? And we'll ratify this next week.
I did have a couple of questions. Is this going to be a bridge over the railroad?
I don't believe, no, I don't believe so. I think another part of the, there's like a boardwalk on another portion of the trail, but this I do not believe is a bridge.
I am positive it's not a bridge.
So it's just,
It's just
water
basically the
path
lights and the, for the pedestrian crossing and such.
yeah. So then it doesn't affect the road there at all.
It should not affect the road.
But there
Okay.
will be road improvements, won't there, Lisa?
Oh, okay.
I
That's
think
good.
there is road improvements and pedestrian improvements as part of the project, but it's not going to really, I don't think, change the whole dynamics of the roadway.
Okay, thank you.
My knowledge, but I'm not the engineer. I'm just the one that is the one that tries to get the money for it. That's a good Paul question, but this is going to be ratified next week and I can get those answers for you.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Sure. Thank
Is
you.
is there any other comment or questions from anyone, including the public? If not, Mr. Cockrell, would you call the roll on this motion?
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes,
motion is approved 2-0.
And thank you both, Ms. Ridge and Ms. Whitmer, for bringing this forward.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Thank you. Next, we have Tammy Behrman on Ordinance 2022-01 Cook Polymer Technology Rezone. Hello.
Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and share screen so I can familiarize you with our packet that will be there next week. Okay, so hopefully you can see the agenda item and the ordinance. I want to point out that with this
I'm
rezone,
sorry. Could you make it a little bit bigger?
Thank
I
you.
can. I think I can. Just give me a moment to, let's see. Oh, boy.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Very good. Thank
So-
you.
All right, so this is the ordinance here.
Could
Is
you
that
make
good?
it- No, make it a little bigger if you could. We have old
Yeah.
eyes, or I have old eyes. so-
Sure thing.
There, that's good.
Okay, it'll make scrolling a little slower. That's all right. So this is the proposed ordinance to rezone. Basically, we have two parcels that total 12.29 acres. And it's located at 3800 West Constitution Avenue. You probably are familiar with the Cook Polymer site, used to be known as Sabin at times. And one of the lots is split zoned, and they came to us with a proposal to do some additional parking, which the design standards, because of that split zone, became very difficult. We do have 3 conditions that go along with this, and I'll explain that we do want to see that they combine the 2 lots into one lot, that there be a written commitment for temporary right-of-way easement for Karst Farm Greenway Connector Trail along West Constitution Avenue. And there's an exhibit on that. And then in order to further develop, they need to use the critical drainage area release rates for stormwater requirements. And so just to kind of go through the packet, let's see if I can scroll a little faster. The Plan Commission gave a positive recommendation on December 14th with a vote of 8-0, kind of to approve this rezone. And I believe Julie Thomas was a part of that vote. And then with the packet, we do have several exhibits in here that I may briefly go through so that you just are familiar as to why planning staff is supporting this, why the Plan Commission was supporting this. We were basically reviewing an old City of Bloomington ordinance for this PUD portion from 1986. And the ordinance did not describe what an open space requirement would be. So then we referred to the ordinance that this was created under, which was a 1973 City of Bloomington ordinance. And it required a 40% open space requirement, which was kind of the hardship for this property. Even our PUDs today require a 25% requirement. Should this rezone to light industrial go through, it would require a 20% open space requirement, which is kind of why we're also requiring those critical stormwater release rates to be utilized for any further development. I keep scrolling through here. So this is the location. It's kind of right on the edge of the City of Bloomington, kind of borders it to the south there. And the zoning is as such that this is lot 4A, which is a split zone lot. They replatted this in 2018. And one of the stipulations was to either amend the outline plan to the ordinance, that old ordinance, or to come and rezone it so that we had consistent design standards. And then this is lot 19. Scrolling. These are the current, like this is what the site looks like now. I will say that up here, this is the BMV license branch with that parking lot. They've been utilizing some of that parking area a little bit, I think, on the side to help kind of meet their parking needs. But they would like to propose more actually on site. This is just demonstrating the critical watershed that they are in and the floodplain that is nearby, and that stormwater would require those critical release rates. Here are the comments from the MS4 coordinator regarding that stormwater. And then we also have the highway department that would like to see that temporary right-of-way dedicated as, well, not dedicated, but a temporary right-of-way easement as a part of this, as a written commitment for the trail that they're going to be doing along Constitution Avenue here. So they'll be widening this existing sidewalk and doing a connector trail to get to that Cars Farm Greenway to the west there. So these are just some of the site photos that I'll kind of breeze through here because you're probably familiar with this site. And then an aerial. We did review the design standards between rezoning it from PUD and IG into the LI. And really it's the open space requirement that's going to be drastically changing from 40% to 20%. The comprehensive plan lists this as MCUA employment. And when you start reviewing our comprehensive plan, this rezone to light industrial completely fits. I couldn't even find anything that went against supporting, this type of a rezone into light industrial. I do want to note that Cook Polymer is not included in the annexation proposal. So we would be, looking at working with this property in the long term and to simplify from using that 1987 combination of old zoning ordinances and to just have it a straight light industrial zoning would be helpful for planning staff for clarity. The transportation alternatives plan actually shows that this is a positive area for connector. They're actually in the works with it. We have an early coordination letter that came in right about the same time as this rezone to do this connector piece. And right here is where they would be proposing or that we are proposing them a condition to do that written commitment for that temporary easement for right of way so they can construct it. And that's the karst greenway over there. And then these are the findings of fact that help staff support the rezone. The letter from the petitioner is in the packet. Hopefully you'll take a moment to read through that. These are their existing site conditions. They don't have an exact proposal for their parking expansion just yet, but that would be probably following shortly after approval. This is the current uses allowed in the IG zone. We have also the current uses allowed in the PUD portion, and then they would be rezoning to light industrial. So it does allow for all of these types of uses. However, this site is built out. We know what's going on here. And then we did the design standards table comparisons here as well, which was summarized in the body of the report. Let's see, I think I also just included the use determination, stating that this is a plastic products assembly currently here, and that is a permitted use in the light industrial zone. And then we also included the plat map. So this was the one done in 2018 that kind of created the split zone situation. And that's lot 19. We would like to see these combined for planning and zoning, treat them as one. And then we included our pre-design, which kind of gave them their options that they could have done an outline plan amendment, but PUDs are oftentimes very complex and complicated, and perhaps doing this straight rezone to light industrial is more helpful for future planning staff to interpret. And then with regards to the, I believe it was the third condition of approval, this is the exhibit that is referenced as this little hatched area strip would be a written commitment that's requested. So I'm going to zip back up to the top of the packet. They're hoping to be on the agenda possibly next week. And should they be, we would have draft versions of this deed combination, a draft written commitment for the temp right of way, and then also this would just be part of a site plan approval for those critical drainage release rates. And so we would hope to include in the packet these two documents. Would they need to be recorded at the time, or would you want to just see drafts approved? Like, I guess that's my one question. Do they need to seek out recording these two documents ahead of time before coming before you during the formal session? I'm sure they would be willing to do that if that's the case.
Would you explain that just a little further, Ms. Behrman?
Right, so the conditions of approval would that they would submit a deed that combines lot 4A and lot 19 and have that ultimately recorded. I mean, we would not proceed with a site plan, any site plan improvements until we had a deed that met that requirement as a part of this rezone. And then also the second document that they would eventually need to proceed further would be a written commitment for that temporary right of way. And so just wondering, in the scheme of things, I should have been a little more prepared. Do they, is this something that could be proceed without these two documents in, or would you just want to see the draft form, I guess, or would you want to see them actually recorded prior to the formal session? And Jeff, I don't know if you've got any advice on that one or not.
Mr. Cockrell, do you have any recommendations for us?
Well, I'm trying to think it through. I guess, what would be your preference?
I'm just thinking of Cook Polymer, and if they can turn this around within a week. I'm sure they can. I think they really want this to go through so they can start on the next phase of site planning for their parking area. So it's just a matter of, I can get them to do these two documents.
I would think you would want all the final documents.
Okay, so we can, I will let them know that we will need recorded documents for the new deed and then the written commitment. And we will try to turn those around here in about they would have about 2 days to get those done. So yes, I can work with them on that.
Well, given that next Monday, our offices are closed also, that should be taken into consideration, I think.
Right. I think that we have to have, that's true. And I don't think I need to include them in the packet, just as long as I can put them in the PowerPoint presentation and have them emailed to your office by Tuesday afternoon. Does that make sense? If I'm including them in the packet, that has to be Friday at noon is our deadline.
Right.
So if I can just include them in the PowerPoint presentation for next week, that would give them a couple more days to turn that out by Tuesday afternoon. And I can email you those copies prior to the meeting.
Commissioner Jones, do you have any comments or questions or opinions on this?
There's someone, I think a Mr. Hogan in the chat said that he would like to speak to this.
Yeah, he's the owner's representative.
Ms. Dayton, can you unmute him? Or explain to him how to join us? There. Mr. Helms, please.
I have no problem with the conditions, and I doubt that Cook does, but as far as getting them done in such a short turnaround, because I have alerted them that this is something that'll need to happen. I guess I don't know if this is going to be something that can guaranteed get done by, when would the meeting date, I guess, be that we would have to get it done by?
Well, we can decide on when to put you on our agenda. We meet every Wednesday, and so it could be next week on the 19th. It could be the following week on January the 26th. I think the 26th might give you a little more leeway for getting this done.
Okay. Well, because that's the only thing is I just wouldn't want to be on the agenda and them not be able to turn this around, because like I said, it's not something that I can necessarily control. It'll be up to their legal team, I think, to come up with these 2 documents. But I just didn't want to get us in a position to where we weren't able to meet deadlines. But I guess in my opinion, is there anything that, because I think getting them drafted would be one thing, but then also getting them recorded is going to be another thing that takes additional time. And so I think that we could move forward. Of course, I don't understand, I guess, maybe everything, but I would think that we could possibly move forward with this without having the written documents done yet. Like, this would be contingent, like Tammy has said. There's not going to be any site plan review without item 3 being addressed, utilizing the critical drainage area release rates. And so could we do something similar to that? Like, we can't utilize our rezone, or the rezone doesn't take effect until we do these, but we could, hear it at the next commissioners meeting, and then it be approved contingent upon items 1, 2, and 3 being addressed, rather than them having to come up with this stuff before you approve it. I mean, ideally, I think that would be the best scenario for Cook, but if not, then something in between would be we have a draft done, but don't necessarily have them recorded, because to get them recorded, it has to be signed by the owners and different things, and then taken to the courthouse. And so that's not a 5-minute process, I guess. Does that make sense? I guess I'm just asking what you guys would consider, I guess, before we go all the way to we have to have a recorded copy before we can be heard at the meeting.
Well, given that this was heard by the Plan Commission on December the 14th, we do have some leeway in terms of when we need to act. So may I ask why there seems to be such a rush on getting this done? Why they want it next week as opposed to the following week?
Because they're already at a situation where they don't have enough parking out there, and so the sooner we can get all of this approved so that we can start the whole design construction process to get parking out there, because that's as Tammy explained, that's kind of what drove this whole rezone was they can't expand on their property anymore because of the green space limit. So we need this before we can move forward with the county reviewing site plans or any of these other things. And so the faster we can go, the more likely we are able to start, once the weather turns favorable towards site construction here in the next, let's say, 3 or 4 months. So we just don't want, there to be any kind of holdup kind of thing. I guess that would be our rush in getting everything approved, is because now we're released to go on design, and now we're released to start working with the county on, as planning and drainage and things, getting all those approved and taken care of, so that the minute we get good weather, we can start out there kind of thing is the idea.
So I guess I also would like to ask Ms. Behrman, you said that generally a PUD has open space requirements of 25%, and in this case, they're asking for 20%, which does concern me a little bit.
Right. So under that old ordinance, it was a 40% requirement. Current PUDs, which what we're looking at would be a complete rehabilitation of an old ordinance to kind of meet our current standards. So a large rewrite. And though there would be that open space of 25% if they had gone the PUD route, PUDs are always very time consuming for staff to interpret and enforce with regards to, further development. And if that's a document we're referring to in 10, 20 years, we would really have to put a lot of effort and time into making sure that that document meets, all of our standards. Whereas a straight light industrial rezone, it has a set of design standards. It's pretty easy for staff to interpret. The list of uses is very accessible from our ordinance usually, and we don't have to do much research. And so that's why I think staff also supports a light industrial rezone rather than a PUD outline plan amendment.
So what's the open space requirement for light industrial?
It is 20% requirement.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, again, I've taken over. Commissioner Jones.
You were asking exactly what I was a little curious about. Yeah, so it's been answered.
Commissioner Jones, do you have a preference for when they bring this back, especially given that there needs to be some time for getting some of these documents together?
I kind of prefer to wait for 2 weeks and be sure that we actually have everything needed, and that it really is ready to go.
I'm in agreement with that, and part of that's because we listen to stuff with highway a lot, and so we know that some of this kind of construction can't even occur until the weather is there, and so to ask for people to wait just 1 extra week, I think I understand that there's a desire to get the designing going, but I would really like to see this put off until January 26th.
Okay, so I will just communicate with the petitioner that January the 26th would be the deadline, or I guess that's the date we're going to shoot for. If I maybe don't see those documents by the 21st, I may push it back a week or so. So
Appreciate that.
okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other department that has another item for our work session that we didn't have on here already? Not seeing anything, so I believe our work session is called to a close. Thank you, everyone.